guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Now, my goal is at the end of this video is to show you guys another way that you can start earning online. Now, if this is your guys' first time on my channel, my name is Lacaba. I am the virtual ate. Been working from home since I was 15 years old and now run an outsourcing agency in the Philippines. And I post videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home. So make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos. Now, my guest for today is an international speaker, business and personal development coach, and CEO of Leaders Must Lead, and is on a mission to help creatives and entrepreneurs create and grow profit and understand that dreams are real. With more than 25 years of experience in corporate roles, leading teams up to 2,000 people, and responsible for over $150 million in revenue, our guest is a recognized expert in leadership, sales, and business strategy. Through his Dreams Are Real podcast, Leaders Must Learn Mastermind, Foundations of Success training, and powerful one-on-one coaching, he helps entrepreneurs around the world, from musicians to artists to chiropractors, coaches, retailers, and beyond, experience success and accomplish their goals. He is actually one of my dear friends. I met him last year in person, and I'm super excited for you guys to learn a lot from him. So make sure that you have your notebook and your pens ready to meet my friend. Okay, guys, so without further ado, please help me welcome my awesome friend all the way across the world, Mr. Dan McPherson. Hey, Dan.
Hello.
Awesome to have you here. We've been talking about having you here since I started having this part of my channel, and you are my second foreign guest. We had Tom here before, who you know also, and I'm excited to kind of talk about this. Like I said, a lot of people don't even think that they could be a coach, but because everyone's experience is different, there is something that you can always bring to other people. So Dan, for you, how did you get started with this, with being a business and personal development coach, like being all of it, doing most of it online?
Well, first, let me say thanks for having me here. You are awesome. Tom is awesome. The energy that you're bringing to the world, and I love your channel as well. So I'm happy to that we've been able to make this connection happen. As far as coaching, it was something that I didn't really see myself in for a lot of my career, which is a little bit strange because I spent a lot of my career leading teams, and I led teams from one or two people, and it ended up being a couple thousand people and hundreds of millions in business. And I still didn't see myself as a coach. And I was looking for what is going to fulfill me in life. I knew that I was, after how I grew up, and I grew up pretty crazy, I knew that I was supposed to help a lot of people in the world, but I didn't know how. And I thought it would be the way that everyone else does. And I hear this so much from my clients too, right? That they grew up thinking, I need to do it the way everyone else does. I need to go to work 9 to 5. I need to, or be on my salary and do the thing. And I respect that. I did it for 25 years. I was very successful, but I never felt fulfilled. I never felt like I was helping people in the way that I was meant to. And so I started asking myself the question that I've loved so much since then. What would it look like if it was easy? And I ended up leaving my job that was super secure, to jump off the cliff. When they offered me my third promotion in 5 years, I jumped off the cliff and started my company, Leaders Must Lead. And I started doing coaching then, which led on this wild and crazy journey that I have been on, where I started thinking, I'll be a coach. And then I had to figure out what the heck that meant.
So I love that it's, you went through the normal path, the quote unquote normal path. You followed what everyone else was doing, but then you jumped off the cliff and did it anyway. So can you describe, for those who have no idea what is a business and personal development coach, what do you do? Now that you've figured it out, because you've done enough time to do it, what does a business and personal development coach do?
That is a very good question, and one which I asked a lot. I use those titles because there are so many different ways to label coaching. And I would challenge the people who are listening to not get caught up on which of those labels it is. People call me different things. They'll say, Dan, you're personal development, you're a business, you're a life coach, you're all of these things. And there were some I liked, some I didn't. And in the end, what I recognized is that all development is personal. And that's why I clicked the personal development piece. I also recognized that I worked with a lot of entrepreneurs, so I grabbed the business piece. What it means to me is, first, all development is personal, so I help people where they are. I help people to connect with what matters to them right now, sharing the principles that are true everywhere with the practicals that are true for them in that space. Are you feeling overwhelmed? Are you feeling lost? Are you not feeling like you understand what the strategy that you need to do next, whatever it may be. And the business part is saying, how do you get from where you are to where you want to be? How do we figure, if you're not sure where you want to be, we might need to do that part first, but then how do you get there? And does it involve sales or leadership or communication or time effectiveness or any of those things? But I want to provide a really clear caveat there. That's what it means to me. Most coaches are very narrow and specific, and they are in their personal space of love, their personal space of expertise. Some would say genius. What I would say is this: don't eliminate yourself from being a coach because you feel like I don't know all the things or I don't know enough of the things. A coach can be a coach if they have the right heart, they're drawn to it for the right reasons, and they know more than the people that they are helping about the thing that they are helping them about. That person might know more about 50 things than you, but if you know more about the relevant thing than them, then you have an opportunity to potentially be a coach.
I love that definition because I remember when I started being a career coach, whatever that meant at that time for me, I thought like, who am I to be able to talk to people about this? And I was like, I have 10 years experience working from home, but like what else? There's so many people who know more about this space than me. I've never actually written a proposal before because I was just lucky to get referrals every time. So it was another coach told me that of like, you just have to be like, at least even just one level above them, and you're helping them along the way. You're shining a light on stuff that they have no idea about, but you went through the trudge, you went through the crap to know what you know now. And I'm like, oh yeah, so it makes sense that for you. And again, guys, a lot of people will have different definitions of how they are as a coach, just like Dan said, but it's just the helping them and getting them to basically just the next level, getting them to the next step, moving forward to whatever it is that they want, or first figuring out what it is that they do want. So yeah,
I do think, I just wanted to say, I think it's also important to understand that authenticity matters, right? Like you don't have to go out and be perfect as a coach. This is something that gets missed so much, is that you have a whole group of coaches in the world who feel like they can't show any weakness. They can't show that they made a mistake. They can't show that there are things that they don't know. And I think that's garbage. I really do. I am known for saying, look, I don't know this thing, or I know this thing and I'm not doing it perfectly. I've done it. I know it works. I do think you need to have the experience. I do think you need to have the validation to say, I get this. I've been where you are. That does make a successful coach. But you don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to present as if you're perfect. Present authentically who you are, and you will connect in a much better way.
True. I started learning that also in the hard way also, just because like most of...
That's how we learn everything, right?
That's how I learned everything. Like, I remember what my first like YouTube videos, I was being this straight-laced, I wouldn't laugh. And then I started like, you guys pointed out a lot, like a lot of my friends pointed out, like I have this unique laugh and they like making me giggle. I'm like, okay, so I should start incorporating that. And I started smiling or laughing or making jokes during my video. And a lot of
talking
more
with
people...
your hands more, all of that, right?
Exactly.
Right? Well, it's the same thing. When I first did videos on Facebook, if you were to look at my Facebook page for the business and you were to go way back, don't anyone please, but if you were to, you would find that the content is very good, but the persona is what I was, what I like to say is I was trying to be instead of just being. Once I got to a spot where I could just be, once I connected with that resonance, everything changed. And that's true in my life as well. Once I got to where not only was I comfortable in my own skin, but I found my personal resonance and I was able to just be authentic in every way and everything that I did and represent that things started flowing to me instead of me having to fight for them.
It's just that the know, like, and trust, that part. People know, like, and trust you because they see you as a person, not as just one of the videos that they're watching on YouTube, not just one of the resources that they go through. It's because like, oh, I like watching Dan's video because there's always something deep in there. There's always something soulful in there that I can feel when I'm listening to your podcast, for example. So it's that. So with this, and I love that you really dove into like how you work as a coach and how you kind of really help people. Out of curiosity, how did you get your first client? How did you get to the point where you have a ton of clients who are waiting? You probably have a wait list, or you have
bit, yeah.
I
might have one spot open now, but yeah, usually. But yeah, the first client was, I think how a lot of people do. It was somebody that I knew, even though I think sometimes that's a harder transition. They've known you for a while. Well, now they're going to start paying you. That's a little weird, right? I recognized that I could help them. They decided to start jumping into business. And I guess they were my first long-term one-on-one client. If I step back a little further, I decided to do something simpler. So I'll give two examples because I think both are important. If I think of my first client, I actually started in a way that gave me some running room, that gave me a little bit of runway. And I think that's important for everybody to look and say, what can I do in a bite-sized way that might help? And I thought, what are the things I'm going to train? Okay, you know what? I can put that together into a few-week class. And I look back now, and that few-week class has actually become the basis for an entire platform that I have launched into the world now, years later. And I had no idea that it would ever end up there. But I took and created this class that was a few weeks. And I just started putting out there, like, look, now as I have this beta class that I'm putting out there, it's really inexpensive. I think it was like $250 a person US, which in the US was for a 5 or 6 week class was nothing, right? And that would be different money, different places in the world. But the point is, it was really low, really accessible. It got me enough money to feel like, oh, I could win. It gave me a chance to test my material, even though I'd tested it on many people before. Out of that came a couple of people who said, hey, I'd like to do more with you. In other words, they got exposed to what I do and they were drawn to me through that. And I think that's one way that a lot of new people will get it, is they show their stuff and then they get people drawn to them. The second is what I was mentioning before. I found my first one-on-one client by looking around me and saying, who has a business need that really matches what I can do? And then just talking to them and saying, hey, is there a way that I can be of help? I think I did the first session or two for them totally free. And I look back now and I stumbled through it. And that's a good encouragement to everybody. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have it all lined out and have every last detail. Like, done is better than perfect. So I ran forward, and it wasn't that I doubted it was of value, but it was me getting in the way. And I said to them, look, let me help you a little bit. And if I help you a little bit, you're going to want me to help you more. And the second they said, we want you to help more, I said, good, let's talk about how much that cost. And the thing is, they're still clients, right? So I have an opportunity to work with them. And I've now been able to help clients grow from nothing to multi-million-dollar businesses. I've been able to help people who never would have thought that they were going to run a business to build it and quit their job. But I've also been able to help people who are employees in some places just do better. That's the thing too, is I know my niche, which is very specific. And that's a lesson I learned in the beginning, because first I tried to help everybody. But I also recognize that not everybody has the same path as I do, and I can help people on their path, not mine.
That's powerful. That helping people on their path. That's a really powerful statement, because a lot of times when I started, I'm going to serve every Filipino who comes my way. I'm going to help them out in some way. You know,
that's right. I did the same thing. I'm like, they told me, Dan, you need a niche. I'm like, no, you need a niche. I can help everybody. Wrong.
Yeah. And it's funny because at the start, that's something that I actually, really enough, that part though, I do encourage. I encourage, Gary Vaynerchuk says in a way where I encourage tasting a lot of different things so you can narrow down. Because a lot of the time, it's when we taste other things, we experience other things, that we are able to find like, what are things I like. But like, I thought I could be a coach for programmers, even though I had no idea about programming. So.
Well, and I find too that you can help anybody that comes to you. But if you're going to go out, you have limited resources, right? In terms of time, focus, energy, money, whatever you like, you have limited resources and you have to pick. And yes, I tasted a lot in the beginning, but what I most look for, and when I train people how to find their niche, I talk a lot about this, is who is drawn to me, who is in the situation that I was in and feels like I felt. This is why the main people that I help are women and creatives and people in the LGBTQ community. Like, those three groups feel like I felt when I was a kid. They often feel lost, underserved, unheard, and just missing everything that they could from society. And so I felt like that. And now they do. And I know it's like the old story, right? Where you fall down in a hole and I meet them and they're kind of in that hole and they're shouting up, and maybe a doctor walked by and they were like, can you help? And they throw a prescription down. Well, that didn't help them get out of the hole, right? And priest walks by, throws a prayer down. Well, that didn't help. Well, a friend walks by and they say, can you help? And the friend jumps down and they look at you and go, why'd you jump down here? Now we're both stuck. And the friend looks at him, and I think the coach looks at him and says, yeah, but I've been here before and I know the way out. That's what a coach does. That's
very powerful imagery. I've thought of it in that way, but never saw it that way, which is, I actually first remember thinking about it when I read Brene Brown's Dare to Lead, that she has, meet people
Love
at
that
their
book.
level. Don't be above their level, meet them at their level. And I love that imagery of, meet them in the pit, because you do know the way out. You've been out. That's why the friend was walking by. So I love that. Thank you so much for giving that powerful
I
way of seeing
appreciate
how a
that.
coach helps. Yeah.
I appreciate it. I mean, I've connected it to coaching. I stole the example, it's a very old example. It's hundreds of years old, I think, but I took it from an episode of The West Wing, one of my favorite TV shows, but I heard it shared on there. But I've cross-applied it because I feel like it's such a great image of coaching.
So with that, with you doing a lot of coaching, with you helping people like find basically what it is that they want to move forward with and helping them move forward with that, with you yourself in the last couple of years, especially now in this year where we've all been kind of just remote and working from home, what is so far the most surprising thing for you? What is the part of it that draws you to being a coach, even though you're just meeting them on Zoom, even though there's like the disadvantage of not right away seeing if they're uncomfortable or not, just the physical language. How is that for you? Like, how has been working from home as a coach?
So two things. One, it's a more unique transition for me in some ways, in that I've worked from home for 15 years. When I ran teams all around the country, I worked from home. So that part was an easier aspect for me. There are some challenges, but I would note that when I first started working from home many years ago, being able to keep focused, being able to not be distracted, to set up my space, to have real boundaries, not only externally to the people around me, but to myself. Oh, look, I could turn the TV on. I could play a video game. I could go do a thing. Just keeping that focus, which is our number one resource in the world, and time is number two, that was really hard. And this year, I've had clients around the world, so that even before now, and that's something that I've worked with them on Zoom for a long time. But the number of hours that I'm spending on Zoom, I spend 10 hours a day on Zoom.
Whoa.
And then what do? I get off Zoom and then I go record stuff for social media.
So it's still almost the same thing.
Oh my gosh. So there's a surprising thing and I think a learning thing. The surprising thing was that there is just so much like Zoom fatigue. It is a real thing that the drain of that. I get energized by real life conversations, by being around people and see, feel, touch, hug them, which I'm a physical guy. So I love to hug people and pick them up and swing them around, as you may recall.
Yes.
And I love that. And I miss that. And that's really hard. And so there's an aspect to which I get energized by the person, but drained by the environment. And that was surprising to me, that when I went from a couple hours a day on Zoom and the rest in person and bouncing out and around to 10 hours a day on Zoom, how much it impacted me. The learning was saying it's even more important that you put what I like to call tent poles in your life, that you have the things. And I call these that because our life is chaos, and we walk out into the world of chaos. And when we do, when we feel like all we are is in chaos, we feel like we're unprotected. We can feel easily lost, and we feel overwhelmed. And I spent a lot of my training helping people avoid feeling overwhelmed. One of the easiest ways to do that is to put a couple what I call tent poles in place. And I teach this in business and personally. Personally, for me, they are gratitude, growth, and exercise. I do a quick gratitude practice in the morning. I literally write down 3 things that I'm grateful for. You have to write them or type them, otherwise they don't stick. And when I do that, and I do it 2.5 weeks in a row, by the time I do it, actually changes your brain chemistry. And even though you only thought about it for 2 minutes in the morning, you will be grateful 12 hours later. I do a growth practice at night that I do the exact same thing, but I ask, how did I get better? What did I learn? How did I move forward today? And I write it down, and you'll wake up looking to grow. About 2.5 weeks later, you'll wake up looking to grow every day. And then exercise at least 10 minutes a day. When I do those 3, it has this crazy effect because all 3 affect your body chemistry and your brain chemistry. And you've addressed your mental, your emotional, and your physical, but it creates like a tent over you that acts like a calm in the center of the chaos. And I found, as a learning standpoint, that became so much more important in an environment like this.
That's amazing. And I definitely am a result of the doing gratitude every day. Like, I have probably 10 different notebooks in, like, I have my storage that is just gratitude journals, or like everyday journals that I write the 3 things that I'm grateful for. You showed up, by the way, on last Sunday's gratitude journal, because I do it the next day. So and it does change you. It does help you make that shift of like, well, for me, it makes me help the shift of, I am not stuck in this situation. I can find other ways to find the fun. I can find other ways to basically change the way that I'm feeling, the way that I'm, my environment and everything else. It actually inspired the 2 tattoos that I got. Is basically, one of them is an airplane. I can basically, in my head, I can zoom out of any situation that I want. That's what gratitude did to me. And growth, I've never actually thought of it that way, of writing down in what way did I grow today, because I'm always thinking of what else can I do to grow, not how did I grow today. So it's a more powerful way of thinking about it, is definitely like, as a person, am I constantly moving also to myself and not just looking and being kind of a bit stuck. And I love that you have exercise on there. I am a big, you've probably seen my stories every day. I try to work out hardcore, and it does, you're moving your body. It helps, as both of us have, gone through a lot of some mental issues. We know how
lots. I'm on my side at least.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to dive into it if it's not okay.
It's fine. I'm good for whatever. One note that I would say about the growth, where every one of us is either getting better or worse every day. And if we think we're sitting still, we're getting passed, if nothing else, by inflation. So we're really sliding a little bit backwards every day if we think we're sitting still. And so the inspiration for me for the growth activity was, I will never lose a day again. That if I write that down, if I write down how I grew, I know that every day I went forward. And so I can commit and say, I will literally go forward every day in the rest of my life. Even the day 3 months ago that I had a heart attack and I was in the hospital, that night I wrote down my growth.
Whoa.
And I wrote down my gratitude as well, because no matter how dark, on your darkest day and your darkest hour, which when I was laying there on the operating table, when they said 60% of people didn't make it through, that was a pretty dark moment. And literally what went through my head, and I was really pleased with this, I've worked hard in my life to change things like this, is that what went through my head was that 90% of my things in my life right now in that moment were good. And so gratitude and growth, when I say it changes your mindset, it changes everything in your life.
And it also becomes kind of a checkup with yourself, kind of like you're self-diagnosing yourself every day when you do it. Right. Like, for example, I know if I'm in a like dark place, when I'm just writing, I am grateful for my strength. I am grateful that I'm still here.
I agree. I added a challenge to that to me, which is that I can never, ever, from now until the end of time, repeat myself, which means when I write down the 3 things I'm grateful for, it can never be repetitive of anything I've written before. And I'm 3 years into not any repeating. And there are days when it's hard. Like what it does is it changes you from being broad to being specific. It makes you really look and say, what am I grateful for today, in the moment, now? What are the details of the world or my life or my experience that I can get? And plus it means that you look back and in 3 years, I have over 1,000 things, actually 3,000 things that I've been grateful for in 3 years. And when you say, wait a minute, in 3 years, I've had 3,000, even if I listed them all, even if I'd only list them all, I have 3,000 things that I'm grateful for. Yeah. That's pretty powerful.
Very true. Very true. Yeah. I've never done that challenge, but I'm now thinking about maybe adding that part.
Yeah. I will tell you, it's about 30 days in to doing it where you're like, what did I sign myself up for? And
good to know, 30 days.
But about 90 days in, you're like, wait, this makes me think differently. This is awesome. And it just challenges your mind so differently. I love that you write it down. And you've showed up multiple times in mine as well. And I am grateful that you are here. I am passionate about mental and emotional health, and I know the struggles deeply, and I'm just truly grateful that you're here.
Thank you. So far, as a coach, I'm going to jumping back into the coach scene before I get a little bit too heavy and tingly inside. What has been your favorite thing about being a coach? We dive into what is your surprising thing and what are the things that you've learned working from home, but what is the favorite thing about being a coach?
Oh, that's really easy. Seeing my clients achieve their dreams, particularly the dreams that they hadn't even envisioned and didn't believe were possible. I love seeing the light in their soul as they just recognize how much they're capable of, and seeing them go from A to B. And there are what I like to call light bulb moments, or I call them the magic moments, actually, is that I don't know which session it'll be, but we'll hit a magic moment where you just know when you hit it because you can see everything change for them. And I think of one of my clients, Melody, who will probably listen to this. She's remarkable. She does self-care for caregivers. That's her specialty in the world. And recently we've had another magic moment for her where you get to see everything change. And over the next several weeks, that showed up. And I love that. Like, that lights me up to see them accomplish their dreams.
That's amazing. And it's a happy feeling seeing them not being sure about what they wanted in the first place and then getting everything else afterwards, which is an awesome feeling. And I love that you just call it, because it is magic. It's like, oh, I can do this. And I love that feeling as well. So for you, if someone was watching this, you guys probably watch to learn how to do it. What has been a common advice that you have given people who want to go into this, who want to delve into being a coach, or being more specific to being a business coach or personal development coach? What is a piece of advice or small step that you give them, encourage them to get to closer to this?
Well, two things. One is I challenge you to really ask why. To ask yourself, and I like why on a lot of different ways. I think be more curious is one of the best pieces of advice I can give almost anyone. It's one of the best that I received. And I was frustrated when I received it because I thought I was curious at the time. And now I recognize I was a little bit, but not nearly enough. And it's maybe one of the best, most important skills we can have. But ask yourself, like, why do I want to do this? When you understand your why, when you understand what you're trying to accomplish, where you're trying to go, even if you need money, even if you're in a pain standpoint and you need to support yourself, you're not doing it for the money. It may feel like that's what started you on the path, but that's not why you're doing it, because you could do almost anything. Right? You could do any of the suggestions that your other guests give. You could do all of these things. Why do you want to do this? What is it that you burn brightly for? And when you get that, what you'll find is the number one thing that comes up on our podcast. There's a question that I ask, which is, what is the number one characteristic that someone needs if they definitely will succeed as an entrepreneur? And about 85% of our guests say some form of resilience, grit, whatever. But what they will back it up with is saying a big part of that comes from doing what you know that you're meant to do, that you're driven to do, that you understand why you're doing the thing. Otherwise, you'll get the first punch and you'll fall down and you won't get back up. But if you know why you're doing it, you get that first punch and you're like, yeah, what? That's the best you got. And you'll stand up and walk forward, and you'll find your way if you find your why.
That's powerful. And it's not the easiest journey if you guys have never done it before, where you're asked your own why. It took me 6 months actually to learn why I wanted to be the virtual ate, which is, to help 1 million Filipinos work from home, because my dad was barely there my whole life because he was working overseas to provide for us. So for me, I want less parents having to leave the country to get good money, but to have good pay. So it's something that for you guys, as you try to think, like, if you are wanting to be a coach, you're wanting to, or you're thinking, you're just like, hey, is that something that I can do? The why it helps drive a lot of things.
So it does. The one other thing that I would say I think is just important, and this is important in anything that you do. One of the things that I teach is strategically how to get things done, is to recognize that the biggest barrier, there are two big barriers that people face. One is ego, because we are the biggest impediment to our own success. But the other is what I like to call the momentum of zero. It's sitting on the couch. And the way that you overcome that isn't by doing something grandiose. It's not by doing something huge. Easiest way to overcome it is ask yourself, what is the smallest, tiniest, itty-bittiest possible step that I could take that I can definitely accomplish in the next 24 hours, no matter what? And by smallest, guys, I mean, it can be writing a list. It can be clicking a button and signing up for one thing. It can be something tiny, but it's got to be able to be done within 24 hours, and then doing that one thing. Once you do that, you will have overcome the momentum of zero, and you will gain momentum towards the rest. That's the hardest thing to get past, and we make it harder because we try and do a big thing instead of doing a little thing on the way to the big thing.
That's true. Just small, just start, whatever is that small step for you. Like, it could be with a list. It could be literally maybe doing a smile. It could be something like just like move the muscles up.
You've got a great smile, so I'm in. That'll work for you. I don't know that that's going to work for me, but it'll be good for you.
We do have, and you just said this, you do have a goofy thumbnail now, so
I do indeed.
Okay, so at this point, I know the answer to this just because I know you, but I still want to have other people see this. But what is your big, hairy, audacious goal? What is the goal that you're going towards? If you had all the resources in the world, what is easy? What does easy look like right now for you?
I mean, moving and living wherever you are. No, my big goal, my North Star is, and I like to now say it in two parts. And yes, you do know it. The first is the really the what, and then it's the why. So the what is to significantly and positively impact the lives of 1 million women and creatives, to give them the foundations of success that they need to achieve their dreams. Now, why women and creatives? Well, women are better than men. And yes, I said it. Everybody who's listening and who wants to throw things at the screen, sorry.
Don't.
But don't, right. Yeah, don't break your screen. Women typically succeed 3 times faster than men, and they're 3 times more likely to succeed than men. And then creatives add newness and light into the world. And people in the LGBTQ community tend to add a different type of thinking to the world. When you mix those groups together, if you want to move very quickly towards something, you will do it. This now leads to my true why. Why do I care about helping 1 million of those people to achieve their dreams? Why is that my life's work? It is because if 1 million of those people achieve their dreams, they will naturally inspire true generational change in the world that in the next 15 years will dramatically reduce things like racism, poverty, hunger, human trafficking. And I'm all about finding the way to naturally reduce that, because my life's mission, my why, is to dramatically, measurably, by more than 10% reduce all of those things in this world.
I said that I already knew what your North Star was, but it always gives me a little bit of flutter of like, no. I always feel that way.
I appreciate that. I would be remiss if I didn't also say that I have a really big shorter term goal as well, which is I'm forming a foundation in the new year. It was supposed to be this year, COVID, all that challenged it. But in the new year, I'll be forming a foundation called Light from Darkness to help prevent suicide in the world in a significant way. And we're doing some unique work in that area as well. So that is another piece. But the big goal is true generational change.
So Dan, if people wanted to reach out to you, wanted to just be Facebook friends with you, how can people find you? Where is the easiest way to kind of connect with you? And I'll put all of the links in the description below.
I appreciate that. The easiest way is probably Facebook at the moment. They can certainly check out, since we're already on YouTube, they can check out our YouTube channel at Leaders Must Lead. Facebook, either my name, Dan McPherson, or Leaders Must Lead. Reach out, connect. I'm certainly there. And you can always look at our website or any other social platform we're on. I love to connect with people. I love to meet new people. My core belief is that people matter most and relationships are everything. And we explore that a lot in the Dreams Are Real Facebook group and on our podcast as well.
Awesome. And I'm part of the Dreams Are Real Facebook group, and it's a lot of really inspiring people and a lot of very interesting posts as well that makes me spot while I'm scrolling. I'm like, I want to answer to that post right now.
Well, and if anyone wants to hear a really cool story told by the lovely Leanne, you can check out the Dreams Are Real podcast and look for her episode. I'm blanking on the number at the moment.
30,
I apologize. I think that's right.
Yeah.
And your story was and is incredible, just like you are, and the light you bring to the world is.
Thank you so much. Well, thank you so much, Dan, for delving into being a coach, also delving into a little bit of how you do things, not just being a coach, but how you Dan. How you do
I Dan.
So
I'm Danomite. That's right.
So thank you so much for coming in, for teaching, for giving a lot of your nuggets of wisdom. I know that a lot of people are going to be inspired and will just kind of fall in love with the thought of being more of a coach as they start thinking about all of the activities that, guys, Dan gave you a lot of blueprints of where to start, and I hope that you guys get started and actually take action with all of them.
Thank you so much. You are awesome.
So I hope you guys enjoyed learning a lot from Dan. I definitely did, relearning a lot of the things that he has already taught me before. And again, I'll put all of his links down below so you guys can check him out, follow him. Please see all of his nuggets of wisdom that he has so far taught to a lot of other people. And you guys can also check out his YouTube channel and of course his podcast so you can learn more about his stories and of course the people that are on his podcast. And if you guys guys like this video, make sure to hit thumbs up right there and comment below what are the nuggets of wisdom that you got from Dan, and or any questions that you might have for him, and he might just comment on your question. And if you still haven't, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home. You guys can check out these other 2 amazing interviews that I have right here so you can learn more from other people, from other experts, how to be able to work from home. Now, I hope you guys have an awesome day, and remember that small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!